Joe Murphy.
Come out today. What we're going to do out here is we're going to show an accident here, and we want you to believe that it was from a car accident from a drunk driver, or it could also be a texting and driving type situation. But either way, it shows just the seriousness of those two situations and what can happen because of it. So we're going to fight the wind a little bit today, but hopefully from what we show you today, we'll show you just how quick something like this can happen and how serious it can be. So we'll get started here, I believe. Okay.
Okay.
There's a pin here.
There's the last.
Go ahead and make up.
Here it comes.
Oh, there's the copper. There's the copper.
Test on here, the driver ended up being intoxicated. Driver of this car saw the hearse coming, they couldn't wait. One of the passengers by the car. This just shows how quick something can happen and how long it took.
I think you might be laying on my touch.
Oh, sorry, I think I bumped it.
Oh, that's what it is. I didn't even realize it was there.
All right, guys. Hopefully you learned a little something out there about the dangers of not only drinking and driving, but also texting and driving. Sorry. Right now. Yeah, just make sure you're safe, especially with prom and graduation season comes up. I think that goes without being said, but hopefully you also get a little better appreciation for all of our first responders in our county here. Don't take what they do for granted.
My day was pretty cool. Kind of was dead. And apparently my mom was young. I didn't hear that. Anyway, so I got taken out of the car and put in a body bag. So, again, remember when you die, it's gross. Also got put into a hearse and all the way to the funeral home. So, again, it was kind of weird. But I also was sitting in the car, and right away Mackenzie shook me, and that was like my instantaneous. I'm actually supposed to be dead right now. And I started thinking, oh, okay, if I die, I'm dead, I guess. But it really hit me that if I actually do die, it's not just me that's affected. So drinking and driving doesn't just affect the person that's dead. So when you're driving and you're going to jail because you killed someone, just think that you have to worry about their friends, their family, everybody that you actually didn't kill. So it's kind of emotional for all of us to be actually standing here after we just died. So, yeah.
Nick, I wondered if you had anything to say from your perspective. No. Representative representing the fire and ambulance, Amy Mormon and Ed Reck are going to talk to you a little bit about when they arrive on a scene.
As you said, my name is Ed Reck. I'm the fire chief here in Rock Rapids. I'm going to give you a little insight on what happens when that pager goes off. Doesn't matter the time of day or night. When the pager goes off, there's a minimum of 50 people that wake up. The firemen and their wives. During the day, maybe not so much the fireman, maybe by himself at his job. He leaves immediately. You are out of bed, full strength, 100 mile an hour. Heading for the fire station. We get information as we show up from whatever the 911 call was. Car accident. We don't know if it was distracted. All we know is there's a car accident and we have victims. So at that moment, we jump in our trucks. Today's experience was quick. We were several blocks from the scene. Typically, this happens out on Gravel Road A somewhere. You're talking 10 or 15 minutes in the middle of the night. You're going to lay there and suffer that moment before ambulance or ourselves get there for any relief at all. When we show up at the scene, we quickly assess what goes on and what the problem is. The dead get overlooked right away. We cannot help them. The most severe injured, we try to take care of those first, and so forth down the line, depending on who has the worst injury. The extrication process starts. Today was fairly quickly. We knew what we were up against. We show up at a different scene. That all has to be assessed as we get there. Our guys are trained very well, but it still takes time. Those times and those moments are precious. So any 911 call we get, the information we get is very important to be accurate. Location, what's going on, that all helps when we get there. Ambulance shows up, they immediately start helping us, stabilizing patients. Fire rescue starts the extrication process. One of us, fire or ambulance, if needed, calls in the helicopter. All of a sudden, it takes people away from the scene to go land that helicopter. That means we have less help at the scene. It gets to be, on our level, our adrenaline is through the roof. We see people with problems that are hurt, screaming, whatever the problem is, all we want to do is take care of it as quickly as we can. They're all people, when it's local, it's people we know. So it brings it to a personal level also. Like I said, Amy, you've got something to add to this. For fire and rescue, we do this because we love working for our community and taking care of the people within our community, and they give back to us by appreciation. Thank you.
All I really want to say is that I don't want to see any of you kids in that situation. I don't want to do it for real.
Now does Sheriff Anderson come and talk to us for just a few minutes.
Most of you I've had in DARE class years ago. Well, I want to share a story with you today, and I know I shared some of the story with some of you guys back when you were in DARE, but I want to share it with you again. And for those that haven't heard it before. It was quite a few years back already when I was road deputy. It was about 10 after 12 on a Friday night. And we heard the pagers go off, and it sounded like it was a really bad accident, just from what we were hearing. Thankfully, for us, I remember commenting to a couple of the deputies that were working that. Thankfully, it was into Minnesota, so we wouldn't have to go to that accident. But just listening to it on the radio, it sounded bad. It sounded horrible. about an hour and a half later, I'm patrolling George, and I get a call from dispatch that I need to come back to the sheriff's office to take a phone call. When I get up there to the sheriff's office, I'm told I have to call up to the Luverne Police Department and talk to an officer up there. So I call up there, and he informs me that yes, they did have a bad car accident, and 4 young girls, ages 16 and 17, had just been to the movie theater up there, that drive-in movie theater. Ever been up there? Kind of a nice place to go. They had just got done watching the movie, and they were heading back home. They got about a mile south of the movie theater, and they were hit by another driver, another car, who was intoxicated. From what I understand, the car was torn into 2 pieces, and all 4 girls in the car were killed instantly. Turned out that one of the 4 kids lived here in Lyon County. The other 3 lived down in Sioux County. So I found out who it was. The minister from the church in Rock Valley called and said he would meet us all down in Rock Valley. They all went to the same school, and they all went to the same church. And I drove down to Rock Valley, and I met with 3 Sioux County officers and the minister plus 3 elders. And it was decided that we would all go to each individual house, and the officer would take an elder with us. And I remember driving to that house thinking this was going to be the most horrible thing I've ever had to do. We get to the house, and by now it's 4:15, so we're talking about 3 hours after the initial accident happened. And I go up to the front door, and I knock on it, and Dad comes to the door. And of course, when he opens the door and he sees me along with an elder from his church, he already knows something is seriously wrong without a word being said. And I asked him, could you please get your wife a minute? I need to talk to you. And he said, yeah, okay. And he started walking down the steps to the basement. The basement steps are right there by the front door. And I said, sir, is your bedroom downstairs? No, I got to check to see if my daughter is home. I said, you need to get your wife, I need to tell you something. Just then, I saw something move over on this side of the room. There was a pillar in the middle of the living room. And behind the pillar was the mother. And she was just kind of peeking off to the side, looking at me. And then I saw her and I said, ma'am, could you come over here, please? So she came over, and now she was already tearing up because she knew something really bad was about to be told to her. She came over to her husband grabbed onto her hand, and then I said, I am sorry to inform you that your daughter was in an accident this evening, and she was killed in the accident. And that mother, at that moment, she collapsed. And her husband caught her before she hit the ground with the cry that she did after that. And every time I tell this story, and I tell a lot of their class, but every time I tell it, right now too, I get goosebumps all the way up and down my neck. Because I'll never forget that cry of that mother after she lost her daughter. Thankfully, after that, the elder then took over and did the rest of the conversating with them. But then I walked outside after the elder was done. I walked back to the car, and I realized that not only is this family going through this right now, but 3 other families are doing it. What a horrible night that was. I walked away that night. I went back to my normal life, back to my family. But all 4 of those families lost a daughter that night. All 4 of those families lost somebody who someday was going to have their prom, someday was going to get married, someday have a family. And now it's gone. And why is it gone? Because one person decided to go out and drive drunk. And because that person did that, he caused all these families so much hurt
even to this day, I bet those mothers think of their daughter every single day. So when you see on TV, and when you see these alcohol commercials, and they're funny, and they laugh, and everything's gonna make it, everything's so much better when you drink. No, it don't. You ask those mothers if that's the case. Now that's only one story I can share with you. I've been to others too. But that was the one where I had to actually notify them that there was a death. But with you guys coming up with prom this week, I want you to have fun. This is a wonderful time of life for you. But leave the alcohol out of it. And the texting could happen the same way. Just a second going over that center line, and you change everybody's life. So don't text and drive either. Okay? You guys have fun this weekend.
And now we've got Iowa State Patrol Trooper Jeremy Hilton.
All right. I'm Trooper Hill. Trooper Kurtz helping me out today. What I do is I'm a technical collision investigator. So anytime that there is a very bad collision, whether I'm working or not working, I'm also one of those people whose phone rings, because you guys, if you saw me out there with my little survey-looking equipment, I get called out to do a detailed, in-depth investigation if the people that are on scene first notice, and if they feel like it's needed. And so when I show up, it can be an hour later, it can be minutes later, it just depends what my status is, if I'm home or what. But a lot of times if I show up, somebody's dead, or somebody's hurt very badly. So I've been through this quite a few times. I've been a trooper for 8.5 years already, and I've seen more fatalities than I would care to talk about. And it's always a traumatic thing. Even today out there, going in the car, checking pulses on these guys, you know they're alive, but just the experience of doing that, that's the worst part of the job. I absolutely hate crawling into a mangled car that's smoking, checking for somebody's pulse. So, and every single person I've checked their pulse, I can see their faces yet. So, today what I'm gonna do, you guys have prom coming up. That's a pretty exciting week. A lot of you guys look forward to a lot of things, whether it's getting a really fancy dress and a hairdo, having a good date, having fun, having the dance and the banquet, or for a lot of the guys, maybe it's even borrowing a fancy car from somebody. Sports car, nice truck. Like I remember a kid in my prom took a combine. So, I mean, whatever works, but that's a highlight of it for a lot of guys, right? So what I got here is this is a case I worked a few years ago, and I'm just gonna give you a brief synopsis of the case. And this case involves a lot of things, because this weekend, you guys are gonna get presented with decisions, and you guys are gonna have the opportunity and the very important task of making those decisions. So we want you guys to know that we support you, and we encourage you to make the right decision, and we hope you all do. This collision involved a lot of things. It involved a gentleman who borrowed his mother-in-law's sports car, and himself and 4 of his friends piled into the sports car and headed to Des Moines on a Friday night. I believe it was a Friday night, to have a good time with some friends. So you have 5 people in this sports car. You have a very high rate of speed, which is, for those of you guys who borrow sports cars, that'll be a temptation this weekend. So along with texting and drinking, that's another thing we want to encourage you to make a good decision, not to be tempted to go out and abuse the speed and the power that those cars have. It also involved drinking, and it involved drugs on the part of the driver and a few of the passengers. So this is just a quick clip that'll show you kind of the intro to what's going on here. All right, this is going to be video of a fatality collision that occurred on January 10th, 2014. And this is going to be video of the approach to the collision scene, traveling on I-80 eastbound from the 89 mile marker. as we approach the collision scene. A witness described a vehicle passing him at an extremely high rate of speed in this dip that we're going to go into, and stated that when he came up out of the dip, he could just see the taillights of the vehicle disappear off the curve. So I just want to drive a straight approach going eastbound here. Set the camera down so I'm not using it while I'm driving. So this is about 30 miles west of Des Moines on Interstate 80 by a little town called Stewart. Very similar to the town you guys live in here. And he passed the witness right here in this flat. The witness was in the right-hand lane, and he said he went by him right in the bottom of that flat like he was standing still. And the witness said he was going about 75 miles an hour. This happened at 8:10 at night, so when they went over this hill, the witness, they just kept going. He didn't have a clue what happened. I didn't track him down until about 2 hours later. When he pulled into Stewart to go to bed, he had seen the fire trucks go out, and then he kind of bothered him. He wondered if they went out for that car, so he called in. All right, so we're at the top of the hill now. As it starts to level off, you can see where those cars in the right-hand lane are starting to take the curve. See the road? The road curves to the right here. These, slow down and get over on these gentlemen didn't know that. Here's their tracks going straight off the side of the road where they drove straight off the curve. Can you pause it just for a second? Maybe back it up just a wiggle. Clear here. Alright, pause right there. Okay, so what happened in this crash is they were going at a very, very high rate of speed, and I'll get into that in just a minute for you. They go down through the median right here. You can see they're just driving straight. They didn't even know the curve was there. And with the alcohol in his system and the speed as a factor, he couldn't react to the curve at the speed he was traveling. So he goes through the ditch. He comes up. There's a little dip there like there is in every ditch. He actually goes airborne over those 2 lanes of traffic. And I found some scuff marks where he landed on this part of the shoulder on the other side there. He goes down, there's a little ravine over there, just like on this side, and there just happened to be a little creek in that ravine. So what happened when he got to the bank of the creek is what we call a fall in accident investigation. And basically he's going so fast that his vehicle continues straight off the bank of the creek until it hit something on the other side. He hit the bank of the other side of the creek, which was sloped up at about a 12-degree angle. And he vaulted off that bank, and he actually went over top of that tree right there. So, and then, so that's kind of the visual aid here. I'll get into I'll just do the details right now. So, when he went over the creek, with no angle of elevation, just flat, he went 52 feet through the air, horizontal distance, and he landed in the bank of that creek 4 feet lower than where he started. So, based on those, I can do some calculations, and at the point where he went into the creek, he was traveling 128 miles per hour. So I figured it out after I got everything all put together. When he left the roadway right here, he was doing between 153 and 155 miles per hour, which is insane. My patrol car doesn't even go that fast. And so then he hit the creek, and he hit the creek so hard that he hit it sideways. It killed everybody in that car the instant he hit the side of the creek at 128 miles per hour. All 5 of them died. They went airborne and started rolling through the air, and they went over top of that tree at 108 miles per hour. And let's see, 263 feet horizontal distance they went through the air, and 27 feet of elevation. So this is the car the next day. You could just thumb through those there if you want, Vince. Anybody know what kind of car that is? Anybody tell? Nobody. Camaro, that's what it is. It's a 2011 Chevy Camaro 2SS, 426 horsepower. 5 people in it, 4 of them didn't have seatbelts on, The one who did, it didn't do him any good at 130 miles per hour when he hit the creek. So all the airbags deployed just like they're supposed to. It looked like a Volkswagen Beetle. That's after we cut the people out. It was flatter than that at the scene. So, one thing to remember too, when you're in a crash, I kind of talked about what killed the 5 people in this crash was hitting the bank at that high speed. There's 3 stages of a collision that we deal with, whether it's a 20-mile-per-hour fender bender here in town or a 100-mile-per-hour sports car wreck out on the side of the road. You're always going to have an object versus object impact in a collision. Object versus object in this case was the car hitting the bank of the creek. When that happens, the object stops or slows down, but your body doesn't right away. So then you have an object versus body collision, whether that's a passenger in your car who didn't have their seatbelt on hitting you, whether it's your seatbelt hitting your shoulder, whether it's you flying out the window and hitting something else. You're going to have an object versus body collision because your body is traveling faster than the car now. Then when your body stops, you're going to have organs versus body collision because your organs inside your body continue to travel faster than your body when your body stops. And in a collision like this, or a collision at a high speed, that's what will kill a lot of people. Your organs, especially your heart, which is kind of actually dangling there on your aorta inside your body, can't handle a high-speed collision, so your heart will continue forward and your body will stop. So this is a situation where 5 young men were going on a weekend night to have a good time, and they had the opportunity to make decisions that maybe some of you guys will have the opportunity to make this week. And they made poor decisions, and it resulted in a tragedy. And the same as the sheriff, a poor officer in Grand Island, Nebraska. I had to talk to him on the phone, and he had to go knock on 5 doors all by himself that night and tell 5 parents that their kids were dead. So, I guess that's my case on that. You want me to show the long video, or is that good?
All right, one final guest speaker today is, I believe it was Phil Timmer, is that right? All right. Phil Timmer, come on up and talk to us, please.
My name is Phil Timmer. I'm originally from Ellsworth, Minnesota. I'm here to talk to you about basically my drinking career. Started when I was very young, sophomore in high school. I just started out drinking a few beers with some upperclassmen. I was on the wrestling team. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my high school days in Ellsworth. And I say none of this to brag whatsoever. Just looking from the outside, you think, boy, this kid had a pretty good shot at life. I was an all-conference football player, state wrestler, homecoming king, girlfriend was a homecoming queen, spoke at the high school graduation. And then I went off to college at SDSU, and that's when my choices began and my decisions began as an adult. But before then, I had decisions to make like you do. I want to read you something about choices and decisions. We do not choose to be born. We do not choose our parents or our time or country of birth or the circumstances of our upbringing. We do not, most of us, choose to die. But within all this realm of choicelessness, we do choose how we shall live, courageously or in cowardice, honorably or dishonorably, with purpose or adrift. We decide what is important and what is trivial. What makes us significant is what we do or refuse to do. We decide and we choose, and so we give definition to ourselves. my choices were to drink. I was the one who always wanted to be the first at the party, bring the most beer, drink the most, and stay the latest. I probably drank with some of your parents because I'm about that age. So throughout my drinking, it progressively got worse. I went from, oh, this is just so much fun, to a progressive alcoholic, and it just about killed me. So I went to college at SDSU, and I drank more and more frequently, and I didn't know it at the time, but when I was a sophomore in college, I was a full-blown alcoholic. After I graduated from SDSU, I moved to Sioux Falls, and I got married, and I had a wonderful life, but I was never a husband. I was a drunk, because now I was drinking every single day. Throughout the next 15 years was just complete chaos. What started out as so much fun, the illusion of fun of drinking as a teenager, turned into ruining my life, and it had a terrible effect on many other lives. Over all them years, starting when I was 18 years old, I had been charged with 6 DWIs, convicted of 4, and guilty of somewhere north of 1,000. I used to drink and drive all the time. Looking back, it was the most selfish thing that I could do. It was bad enough that I was putting my own health and life in danger from the drinking, but getting on the road and driving was just plain stupidity. So I was arrested for the DWIs, 6 times. Arrested for other alcohol-related incidents, public intox, disorderly conduct, on and on the list goes. None of them would have happened if it wasn't for me drinking. I was in jail probably 25 to 30 times. I was in treatment centers like Keystone and New Life and a few other ones around. Basically, I hit them all. I was in treatment 11 times. I was hospitalized from alcohol over 30 times. My addiction, physical addiction to alcohol, became so bad that I would wake up in the morning and I would shake uncontrollably because my body was withdrawing from alcohol. I would try to get water to my mouth and I would shake too bad, it would just spill all over the place. I remember distinctly one morning, I was living in an apartment in Sioux Falls, and I woke up and I couldn't get my eyes open. They were all crusted shut, and I was shaking something terrible, so I knew I needed to get some vodka or whiskey in my body. So I made my way to the kitchen, and I got my eyes open, and I found some vodka, and I was shaking so bad I couldn't even pour it into a glass. So I poured it onto a plate, and I was licking it up, and it wouldn't stay down. So I ran to the bathroom to throw up what little was in me. And after I got done puking for about 5 minutes, I looked up into the mirror. It's like I had a flashback of when I was a kid, your age, in high school, with so much promise. The reason that my eyes were crusted over is because I had fallen the night before, cut my head in a few places, and my whole face was full of blood. And I hadn't eaten for probably a week or two, and now the hairs in my beard were coming in gray, and I hadn't showered for a week or two, and I just looked in the mirror, and I said, what the hell happened? It's a little bit of fun that I thought when I was your age. 10 years later, looking in the mirror, it was somebody I couldn't even recognize for what the alcohol had done to me. I was also outside of the treatment facilities I was in. One time I got sentenced to 6 months in Hastings, Minnesota, to halfway house. So, first day I got there, there was this young guy, 19 years old, sitting at the table, and he would just stare at the clock for hours and hours and hours. And nobody really knew what had happened to him. His name was Josh. And his mother came on that weekend, and I asked her, I said, what's the deal with your son? She said, well, last year, on his graduation night as a senior, he decided to go out drinking with some of his friends. And they got to a party, and somebody had brewed up some methamphetamine. And Josh was the first one to try it. And it fried his brain. So for the rest of his life, he will sit and stare at a clock or a wall because of one decision. The first bad decision was to drink. And when you drink, what happens is your common sense and your morals, your decision making go right down the tube. You'd say, oh, I would never do this, I would never do that, I'd never do drugs, I'd never drink and drive. Get a couple beers in you, you might. Get 6 beers in you, you don't care. So the first decision is not to drink at all. And then the consequences of the following decisions will never come about. Well, when the officers here were talking about the accidents that they've seen, I don't even know if they refer to them as accidents. They're no accidents. They're very foreseeable. People going around drinking and driving, like I did so many times, it's foreseeable that somebody's going to get hurt or killed. At the end of this is what I wrote. We decided we choose, and so we give definitions to ourselves. I defined myself by my choices, and that was a drunk, an alcoholic. Some people define themselves by their choices, as you've seen here today, as killers. They didn't set out to kill someone. They didn't set out to ruin families. Their decision was a selfish one, and it happened. Now, as young people, and even as adults, why do you think people would want you to drink, or your so-called friends want you to drink? If you have a friend that says, oh, come on, just have a couple, it'll be fun, I'm telling you, they're no friend. Ask yourself, when they're telling you, you guys are laughing there, this isn't funny. But you're probably one of some of them that are drinking and saying, hey buddies, let's go, let's have some. You're not a friend. You're asking somebody else to drink. And by nature, especially as teenagers, you're selfish people. You want something out of it. You're not looking out for the best interests of the other person. They want you to drink because they want to make fun of you, take advantage of you, or watch you get in trouble. Not a friend. The cool crowd that I used to run around with, I guess what we used to call the partiers, in high school and in college and the years after that, Some of my friends, dear friends of mine, are still from Ellsworth. A lot of alcoholics. I know and have so many stories about how alcohol has ruined people's lives. Marriages, being worthless fathers, mothers. I speak at treatment centers all over, and the devastation and the havoc that alcohol wreaks on families is undescribable. If I'm at a treatment center and I know the answer to this question, and I ask the people if I'm going to come and speak to a younger crowd, what would you want me to tell these young people? And all the time they just say, oh, tell them not even to start. Just don't even start. Out of my 20-year drinking career, and I drank a lot, and daily for many, many years, I cannot think of one, not one, good thing that came from it. Not a single thing. It's all deception. It's all an illusion of fun. And I wish I would have never had one drink in my whole life. I haven't drank for 7 years now. But I'm around it, the effects of it all the time. At treatment centers. And whether a mother or father or a child will call me and say, my loved one needs some help. Alcoholism is a progressive disease. Start as a couple and then more and more and more. There's few guarantees in life as you go out into this real world. One of them is you'll never ever be an alcoholic if you don't drink. You'll never be a drug addict if you don't do drugs. You have the choices to make, and I'm not so naive to think that none of you haven't drank, or maybe none of you will heed everybody's warning here today and will drink this weekend if you're that stupid. And I was that stupid. And I paid the consequences, but I could have paid a lot more severe consequences from my behavior, and I'm thankful that I didn't. But many of my friends have. I just got a call on last Monday night, I believe it was, from a guy that I know who's in the state penitentiary in Sioux Falls, up on the hill there, by DWI. He didn't drink this last time, but he was doing some kind of drugs, so he got a driving under the influence. 5 years in jail. I know a guy from southwest Minnesota not too many years ago, was an alcoholic, went to treatment, got to drinking again, drove his motorcycle off the edge of the curb, dead. I know another guy from Sioux Falls, drinking on a motorcycle also, girlfriend got killed. On and on the stories go. None of them good. None of them. I hope, and let me tell you, I've been, and all of us have been teenagers, and the peer pressure I know is great to drink. I hope that you, all of you, will have the courage to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's going to start this weekend. You drank in the past, start this weekend and say, no, I am not going to take the chance of going down that road. Because there is nothing good going to come from it. Like I said, I haven't drank now for 7 years. It's not that I don't have the opportunity to, and people who don't know me once in a while will suggest that I have a beard, and I say no. My true friends would never, ever, ever, ever ask me to have a drink. So if somebody's asking you this weekend or even tonight to have a beer or two, I would question whether they're your friend. And I can hang out with somebody else. You're going to define yourself with the decisions that you make every day. I'm no longer defined as a drunk, but I used to be. Because of my decisions, I earned the label as a worthless drunk. And over the past years, when people ask me to drink, or if I have ever had a temptation to drink, like I said, if you start that today and tomorrow, and you say no, and you say no, and you say no, it gets easier, much easier. I pray that none of you will go down this path because it is completely unnecessary. If you do, you will pay the consequences. And I don't know what the drinking culture is around Central Lyon anymore, but I know what it used to be. But if you or a friend, or family member has a problem with drinking or drugs, I make no judgment. Start today. If you know someone or you yourself needs help, contact somebody from the school. They know my number. Or the sheriff's office. I will do anything I can to help. So you don't have to go down such a tragic road. Does anybody have any questions? But in one word, it was God. Since we're on that topic real shortly, if you want to do a little research on through the Bible will tell you exactly what drinking will do to people's lives. Thanks for having me.
Zetch, who set all this up today, the accident and the speakers, to line everyone up. Thanks, everybody. Make good decisions this weekend, and go ahead and go on back to 4th hour class.